Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Charts with Dan. We are a little later than usual because it's been a very hectic week. It turns out when you are the researcher slash editor slash on-camera talent for a box office show and there's big breaking news as there was yesterday about Jimmy Kimmel, and you're also trying to move in the same week, things can get a little bit hectic. So apologies for being a little bit later than usual. There's going to be a little bit of instability as I get out of this space and settle into the new space, but I'm here, and I guess that's what matters in the long run. And we are here to talk about the latest weekend at the box office, where Demon Slayer Infinity Castle had a big drop, but still managed to become officially the biggest anime film of all time. So let's take a look at the latest box office numbers, and Infinity Castle does stay number one with $17.3 million. It has eclipsed the $100 million mark domestically, but you do see that big drop there at 75.5%. That is not unusual for an anime film of any size. We often see these big drops. They tend to be very front-loaded, but this doesn't mean that Infinity Castle is some kind of a failure or not a box office success. This has already been a hit. It was a hit before it opened here domestically. It's just a bit of a different structure as far as what we get on weekend one versus other weekends than we see with a normal release. Him had a disappointing release in second place at $13.2 million. That's pretty much what allowed Infinity Castle to remain number one. Disappointing, maybe not because of the budget. I think it'll do okay based on that, but just because of the Monkey Paw / Jordan Peele association. The reviews were not terribly good on this film. As a matter of fact, they were mostly terribly terrible. And I think that there was the hope, or certainly there was on my part, that it would do just a bit better. The Conjuring Last Rites in its third week dropped 52.1% for a $12.2 million weekend. It is now over $150 million domestic. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, a bit of a bigger drop than you'd expect with an older skewing title, 64.6% in weekend number two for $6.4 million. The Long Walk held well for a movie of its type, 46.8% in weekend number two for $6.2 million. It's now at $22.6 million domestic. In sixth place was Kogonada's A Big Bold Beautiful Journey, starring Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie. Really no other way to paint this but a disappointing opening weekend. It just was not able to effectively sell this movie. It opens at $3.2 million. Angel Studios' latest film, The Senior, opens in seventh place at $2.6 million. The Toy Story 30th Anniversary re-release drops 58.8% in weekend number two for another $1.4 million. In ninth place is Sight and Sound presents Noah Live, a presentation of a live stage production about the story of Noah. It made $1.3 million. And at number 10, in its seventh week in the top 10, we have Weapons with another $1.2 million. It's knocking on the door of $150 million domestically. Dropping out of the top 10, we have Freakier Friday out after 6 weeks. The re-release of Hamilton out after 2 weeks. Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, is out after a disappointing 1-week run. And the Sound of Music 60th Anniversary release is also out after 1 week. And when we look at the movies that were released in 2025 that has spent the most time in the domestic top 10, we see that Weapons is now at 7 weeks, tied with One of Them Days and The Fantastic Four First Steps for the third longest run of any 2025 release. Then we have 7 movies tied for second place with 8 weeks, and of course the big 3 at 9 weeks, which would be Sinners, Lilo and Stitch, and Superman. Looking at the biggest theater count changes for this past weekend, Caught Stealing was basically run out of theaters. 1,162 theaters gone. It's now in just 513 theaters. Weapons lost about half of its theaters. It lost 1,124. It's now in 1,186. Light of the World had a short run domestically. It lost 1,060 theaters. It's now in 480. The Fantastic Four First Steps lost the majority of its remaining theaters, 1,020 of them. It's now in 630. And The Roses is now out of wide release. It lost 935 theaters. It remains in 370. This is what I call our road to recovery. The blue line is the box office weekend average for 2015 to 2019. The red line is 2021 to 2024, and the dotted black line is every weekend this year. And you can see that we took a pretty big drop from last weekend with the big opening from Demon Slayer and good support from other movies in the top 5. We're not quite at the average for the post-pandemic box office picture, but we are far from where we were pre-pandemic, so a bit of a return to normal to what we've seen for a lot of weekends, especially in the later part of the summer. We'll see if the box office can recover over the next few weeks. So as I mentioned, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle had a second weekend as far as box office hold, like we often see with an anime movie, but the difference is that we don't often see anime films in as many theaters as Infinity Castle has. These are the biggest second weekend drop-offs for releases in 3,000 or more theaters. Of course, at number 1 is Joker Folie à Deux, which dropped 81.4% in weekend number 2, followed by Friday the 13th back in 2009, Halloween Ends, which was also a day-and-date streaming release, The Marvels, Mortal Engines, and Five Nights at Freddy's, which was a day-and-date streaming release. But we have Demon Slayer Infinity Castle at number 7, with a lot of movies that could be considered box office disappointments. A few, though, that aren't. It is kind of the odd movie out, though, because it is a very different type of movie, and again, the audience behavior on this movie is very different. At number 8 was the re-release of Spider-Man No Way Home, which dropped 75.3% in its second weekend, followed by 50 Shades of Grey, and of course, Morbius. Demon Slayer Infinity Castle is already the second highest grossing international film in the US and Canada, at least according to my research. I know that everybody has different definitions, etc. And only the second international film to break $100 million. It's now at number 2, behind Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and ahead of Pokemon the first movie, Life is Beautiful, and Godzilla -1. I mentioned that Him had what could be deemed a disappointing opening weekend, so let's look at where it falls as far as Jordan Peele's Monkey Paw Productions. Of course, his 3 films as director are the top 3 for Monkey Paw. Us back in 2019 at $71.1 million, Nope in 2022 at $44.3 million, and Get Out in 2017 at $33.3 million. Then we have the Jordan Peele produced revival of Candyman back in 2021 at $22 million. Him ranks number 5 for Monkey Paw at $13.2 million. Then Black Klansman is at number 6. That's right, Jordan Peele produced that film, or was a co-producer on it. Monkey Man is at number 7. Keanu's at number 8. Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul is at number 9, and then not eligible for this list was the 10th film from Monkey Paw Productions, Wendell and Wild, which was a premiere on Netflix. And that brings us to our Charts with Dan trivia question for this week. Of course, Him just opened at the box office to not spectacular results. What is the highest grossing film domestically that is largely or solely about American football? This actually was something that did not spring to my mind initially, but when I saw the answer, I was like, oh yeah, of course that's it. I'll give you another second to think about it, and here comes the answer. It is The Blind Side, which was an Oscar-nominated film, won an Oscar for Sandra Bullock at $255.9 million. The Conjuring Last Rites is officially the highest grossing film in the Conjuring franchise at $150.5 million. That puts it over the original film. The Nun is at number 3, The Conjuring 2 is at number 4, and Annabelle Creation is at number 5. When you adjust for inflation, The Conjuring Last Rites is now at number 2, just ahead of The Nun, but still about $47 million behind the original Conjuring. The Conjuring 2 and Annabelle Creation round out the top 5 on the inflation-adjusted chart. And when we look at horror grosses in 2025 domestically, The Conjuring Last Rites is now at number 2. It has snuck past Weapons, which is now at number 3. Sinners, though, easily holds the lead at $278.5 million in the number 1 spot. Looking at the top per theater averages for this past weekend, at number 1 was Plain Clothes, which I've been talking about as a movie I really enjoyed out of the Sundance Film Festival. It made $17,628 in one theater. In second place is the 4K restoration of Four Nights of a Dreamer, which made $5,796 in one theater. In third place, we have Peacock, which is a film from Austria, good eye might, about a man whose job is to impersonate whomever the person hiring him needs him to be. It made $5,220 in one theater, and yes, I know, I was doing a little Dumb and Dumber reference there. In fourth place is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, which made $5,177 per theater in its 3,342 theaters, and Him rounds out the top 5, bringing in $4,182 per theater in 3,168 theaters. Looking at the films in limited release that topped the charts this past weekend, at number 1 was Sight and Sound Presents Noah Live at $1.3 million in 933 theaters. In second place, in an unknown number of theaters, is the Kanye West documentary In Whose Name, I can only find numbers from one of my resources on this, but it reportedly brought in $718,000. In third place is Jolly LLB 3, which is a Hindi language comedy from India. It brought in $678,000 in an unknown number of theaters. The IMAX re-release of Apollo 13 played in 200 theaters and brought in $627,000. And in fifth place was the expansion of The History of Sound to 552 theaters. It brought in just over $300,000. Let's turn our attention now from the domestic market to the international market, which is all countries outside of the US and Canada. And at number one is the Chinese movie 731. The reactions I've seen to this film have reportedly been extremely negative, but it did very good business at $121.2 million in China. In second place was Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, which dropped 42.9%, but brought in another $44.5 million. The Conjuring Last Rites dropped 53.2% internationally, but brought in $28.3 million. Chainsaw Man, the movie, Res Arc, which will not open here in the United States for a couple more weeks, brought in $10.2 million in its international opening weekend. And Jolly LLB 3 brought in $9.1 million internationally. And when I mentioned that 731 did very good international business, it was actually the seventh best opening of the year for a film internationally. Again, that's just counting grosses outside of the United States and Canada. It comes in ahead of the opening for How to Train Your Dragon, The Fantastic Four, First Steps, and Superman, and just behind the opening for Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. When you take those international numbers, you combine them with our domestic numbers, we get our top 5 films worldwide. At number 1 is 731. The Chinese gross was good enough to get it number 1 in the world. In second place is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle with another $61.6 million worldwide and a 58.4% drop from last weekend. The Conjuring Last Rites brought in another $40.5 million worldwide. That takes its total over $400 million. Downton Abbey, the grand finale, dropped 51.6 to bring in another $14.7 million. And Him debuts in fifth place. It actually had a very small international gross, so the bulk, the lion's share of that money is its domestic opening. And with this latest weekend, Demon Slayer Infinity Castle officially becomes the highest grossing film worldwide made in Japan. It passes Demon Slayer Mugen Train. Its worldwide total is now, well, reporting's been all over the place, but the consensus number I can find is $555 million. Your Name is the third highest grossing Japanese film worldwide, followed by Spirited Away and Suzume, The Boy and the Heron, the first Slam Dunk, One Piece film, Red, Howl's Moving Castle, and Princess Mononoke, which I found an updated gross for, round out the top 10. And with Demon Slayer Infinity Castle being such a box office powerhouse, that brings us to our member poll question from last week. I asked members here on the channel, what manga/anime series could become the next Demon Slayer at the box office? And the results were close. At number 1 with 17 votes was Jujutsu Kaisen, but in second place with 16 votes was none. People that said that Demon Slayer is sort of a 1 in a million franchise when it comes to manga and anime, and that there was no heir apparent. In second place is Chainsaw Man with 11 votes, followed by Dan Da Dan with 9 votes, and Frieren rounding out the top 5 with 7 votes. And for this week's Charts with Dan member poll question, as one battle after another opens here domestically this weekend, I wanted to know, what is your favorite film directed by Paul Thomas Anderson? This would be a very difficult choice for me. I do have a favorite, but it's very stiff competition. You can leave your answer in the comments of the member poll, which is live right now. Or if your answer is already there, you can upvote it, because that makes it easier for me when I'm tabulating the results. The top 5 will be revealed on next week's Charts with Dan. And if you're not a member yet, depending on how you're watching the show, there may be a button for you to click to become a member, or you can check out the description below where you can figure out that information. You don't just get to vote in a poll here on the show every week. You also get early access to some of my videos, as well as custom badges and emoji to use down in the chat. The Conjuring Last Rites is not only the highest grossing Conjuring film domestically, it is now the highest grossing Conjuring film worldwide at $400 million. That puts it over The Nun, which was previously number 1 at $366 million. The Conjuring 2 is in third place. The original Conjuring is in fourth. And Annabelle Creation is in fifth place. Those are the 5 films in the universe that have passed $300 million or more at the worldwide box office. And this is what the 2025 worldwide box office looks like right now, with Nudja 2 at number 1, followed by Lilo and Stitch. A Minecraft Movie's in 3rd place, with Jurassic World Rebirth in 4th, and How to Train Your Dragon in 5th. F1 the movie is in 6th place, Superman is in 7th, Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning is in 8th, and Demon Slayer Infinity Castle is now one of the 10 highest grossing movies of the year worldwide. It is at number 9, which puts the Fantastic Four First Steps at number 10 with $520.5 million. So that's what's going on at the box office. Let's turn our attention now briefly to the world of streaming, and we will start with the latest numbers from Netflix. New numbers will be out later today, but this is for the week of September 8th through the 14th. At number 1, it's another week and another $22.62 million for K-pop Demon Hunters, which continues its dominant run on Netflix. In 2nd place was the live Alvarez versus Crawford fight on Netflix, which brought in a reported 17.71 million views. Then we have Wednesday Season 2 in 3rd place at 14.96 million views. The Wrong Paris, the Netflix original movie, is at number 4 with 12.84 million views, followed by Unknown Number at 11.69 million views. AKA Charlie Sheen, the documentary about Charlie Sheen, brought in 9.73 million views in its debut. That's good enough for 6th place. Beauty in Black Season 2 debuts in 7th place with 8.65 million views. Then we have the Thursday Murder Club in 8th place, the Netflix series Bon Appetit, Your Majesty in 9th place, and My Life with the Walter Boys Season 2 rounding out the top 10. Looking at the 10 most watched programs on Netflix so far in 2025, Wednesday dips down to number 9 for right now because we had that running time added to Season 2, so it's going to take a little bit for those views to accumulate, but it should be back at least at number 8 by this week when we get the new numbers. Of course, K-pop Demon Hunters, easily the most watched program in 2025. It's now up to 314.16 million total views. Let's take a look now at the latest Nielsen ratings. Now, unlike Netflix, these are domestic numbers, not global numbers, and they're about a month delayed because that's how long it takes Nielsen to get the data out to us. So these are the top 10 most watched streaming movies for the week of August 18th through the 24th. And like the current Netflix charts, at number 1 is K-pop Demon Hunters with 15.5 million hours watched. In 2nd place is the Netflix original film Night Always Comes at 4.6 million hours watched, followed by Happy Gilmore 2, Hobbs and Shaw, and The Pickup. And then we have a bunch of new movies to the chart at number 6 through 10. Fall for Me on Netflix is at number 6, followed by Broke on Netflix at number 7. The Map That Leads You on Amazon Prime Video is at number 8. Hotel Transylvania 3 is at number 9. And Furious 7 is at number 10. These were the most watched streaming shows for the week of August 18th through the 24th. First of all, we have Wednesday at 18.8 million hours watched, followed by Sullivan's Crossing at 14.8 million. SpongeBob SquarePants, which has been on and off the top 10 charts for ever, really, but it's had a bit of a resurgence lately, is at number 3 at 13.7 million hours watched, followed by Grey's Anatomy at number 4, Bluey at number 5, Extant debuts on the chart at number 6 at 12.3 million hours watched, followed by The Big Bang Theory at number 7, The Summer I Turned Pretty at number 8, Bob's Burgers returning to the chart at number 9, and Animal Kingdom returning to the chart at number 10. And when you look at the top Nielsen streaming shows as far as watch time per available episode, which means you take the total viewing time of a series and divide it by the number of episodes available to watch, Fit for TV, the look at NBC's The Biggest Loser, is at number 1 at 3.03 million hours watched per episode. Then we have Alien Earth on the week that its 3rd episode debuted, in 2nd place at 1.87 million hours per episode. Hostage is at number 3 at 1.61 million hours per episode, followed by Wednesday at number 4, and America's Team, a look at the Dallas Cowboys, at number 5. The Hunting Wives is at number 6, and Butterfly is at number 7. A lot of shows above 1 million hours per episode. The Summer I Turned Pretty is at number 8, followed by Sullivan's Crossing, and Extant at number 10. And that's what I've got for you this week. A bit of a shorter show than usual, but before I go, I just wanted to draw your attention to some things that might be interesting to you, both in theaters and at home this upcoming week. First of all, tonight is the finale of Alien Earth on Hulu and FX. I've been catching up on the show. I'm going to watch it tonight, and I'm going to try to get you a review tomorrow, although moving day is also tomorrow, and there's a lot of moving pieces that are happening today. My intention, though, is to do it because I've really enjoyed the show so far. Also today, The Fantastic Four First Steps is available for digital purchase and premium video on demand. and Splitsville, also available for digital purchase and premium video on demand. Tomorrow, what I'm often told is one of the best shows I'm not watching, Slow Horses, debuts its 5th season on Apple TV+. And Disney Plus will also drop all episodes of Marvel Zombies, which I'm interested to see. I really liked reading those comics, and I hope that the animated show does it justice. On Thursday, Alice in Borderlands Season 3 debuts on Netflix, and then we have a few options for you in theaters starting on Friday. The headline release, I'd say, is One Battle After Another, the latest from Paul Thomas Anderson, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. WB is putting its $40+ million opening weekend streak on the line, so we'll see if P.T. Anderson can bring that same kind of magic. The Strangers Chapter 2 also opens in theaters. The first one wasn't really that big of a hit, but I believe that they were made all at the same time, so we're getting another one. Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie, will also be opening in theaters this week. I saw on my AMC app that I think all of the showings on opening day are already sold out, so this could be a bit of a surprising result. In many theaters around the country, Dead of Winter will be hitting this weekend. Emma Thompson plays a woman trying to save a young girl in danger in the middle of a remote, snowy wilderness. Scarlett Johansson's debut film as a director, Eleanor the Great, will be hitting some theaters this weekend, starring the great June Squibb. And in many theaters around the country, Dude Perfect, the Hero Tour, will also be available this weekend. And Fathom Events is also re-releasing the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films on consecutive nights this weekend. So on Friday night, you can catch the original Spider-Man in theaters. And if you want to stay home, Megan 2.0 will be debuting on Peacock this Friday. Then on Saturday, if you want to head back to see another Sam Raimi film, the Spider-Man 2.1 alternate cut will be in theaters through Fathom Events. This is the first time, according to Fathom, that this cut has been shown in theaters. And if you want to stay home, Karate Kid Legends will make its Netflix debut. And finally, on Sunday, if you're a real Sam Raimi enthusiast, Spider-Man 3 will be hitting theaters. And if you missed the 3 Spider-Man films this weekend, Fathom will also be releasing them next weekend. And that's everything I've got for you this week. As I mentioned, I did a breaking news video about the return of Jimmy Kimmel, including a breakdown of everything around his suspension and his return to the airwaves last night. So if you missed that, you can watch it right now. And looking ahead to the rest of the week, as I mentioned, I'm going to try to get a review for the full series of Alien Earth out to you tomorrow. And if I'm able to get that done, then that video will be the last video in this space, because we're going to be moving to the new house. So please pardon my dust and pardon my exhaustion for the next several days, but it's a very exciting time for me. And of course, there's a whole bunch of other stuff here on the channel that I've done over like 5 years, if you want to just check out any of that stuff. Thank you so much for watching Charts with Dan. If you're not subscribed, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you're notified. If you want to become a channel member, look down in the description below for info about that. But most importantly, thank you for watching this video. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.